the rematch, Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson 2 for the World Championship. It's time. And this one, with the 60-minute time limit, if it did go to the time limit draw, which I was, all for, because they just wrestled an absolute banger match the first time. They had 3 judges. They had Jerry Lynn, Paul White, and Mark Henry sitting ringside. And I think that was a kind of a cool element added to it, but it wasn't used, and I hope maybe one day it will be used. It is a unique element. Good to see Paul White back on TV. This one, the crowd said it best. This is awesome. Fight forever chance. I mean, they gave it all. This was a bloody mess match. Hangman Adam Page was opened up within the first 10 minutes. And then you had blood all over Bryan Danielson from Hangman Adam Page. Then you had Danielson, just busted open like crazy. It was just a bloody, bloody mess, man. Danielson, I got to give props to Danielson's heel work, man. Every time we see him in the ring, he is just getting better and better with leaning into that heel, working the crowd, doing the jumping jacks ringside, showing the stamina, yelling at the crowd. And then if you paid close attention in the picture-in-picture, he was gouging out Hangman's eyes right in front of the judges. That was great. I wish that was on the big screen, not the picture-in-picture, because that was great character work out of it, man. This one, they're protecting Hangman's finishes as they should. We're seeing some other wrestlers get their finish tapped out, which we consistently do in some big matches, but the fact that they're protecting it, I love that. The crossroads, many people are kicking that out, so that's why he's having to do 3. Then the pedigree essentially. But man, what did you think about this match,
dude? I gotta give props to Hangman Page, man. Like, from his title win, since he beat Kenny Omega, he's put on some great matches. This is a big, this is a big feud for him, going against one of the best in the world, the Hall of Famer in Bryan Danielson. He goes out there and he has these matches, man. Like, he's going to be champion for a long time, because you can't beat this stuff. Like, these are as good of wrestling matches as you're going to get. The 60-minute one was just perfect, and this one was as perfect of a follow-up as you can get. These guys have great chemistry. These guys just absolutely destroyed each other. About a third of the way through the match, it felt like just a continuation of that other match, if that makes sense. These guys were just gushing blood all over the place. The ring had to probably be changed after that match. They probably had to take off the top and to clean the mat off or something, man. It was gross at times.
Fresh match. It was gross at times. I was like, Danielson's face was just both guys' faces were just.
Danielson's mask was a little bit worse at points, man. Like, he got I don't know if it was his hair or what, but like, his whole face was just like, this bright whole red side was covered in blood, and then this started going too. It was just terrible. And Hangman got broken open early, man. Busted open early, so he kind of was able to get the blood off his face halfway through the match. But
I agree with Mindrunner on this. I think I like number 2, even though it was half the time. I think it was so many more high spots at this one. Not that the first one did not have, because it definitely did. But this one, just to me, it definitely felt different. Hangman was brutal with his offense. He did that dead eye on the floor, that backflip suplex off the top rope, while both guys were dripping blood. The constant headbutts, and then they had everything. They had the high spots, they had the physical cheating, aggressive moves inside outside the ring, and they had all the grappling and the submissions. And so this match had it all.
I will say, though, to give the last match credit, I do think that this match felt more important and more emotional because that match went the distance. It went 60 minutes and it was a draw. I think that part of why this match felt so epic and felt so aggressive on both ends was because they kind of both knew, man, we have to give it our all. They know each other so well after that 60-minute match they had, that they're gonna go out there and give each other their best stuff. And Hangman, I was telling you guys during the match, I was like, he's trying to force the buckshot. He was like trying to force it, trying to get it done. Just so because he knew, like, man, if I hit this, it's gonna really, even if Danielson kicks out of it, it's gonna knock him out. It's gonna be a big one. And we didn't get to see it. He tried it a bunch of times. And man, he got some just awesome moves in, but when he hit that buckshot, it was like, okay, this is it. Like it felt like it was it. It looked like it was it, and it was it. And this was a big conquering moment for Hangman Page. He didn't wrestle an injured. It wasn't beating an injured Kenny Omega. Frankly,
True.
it was beating Bryan Danielson that's had some of the best matches in AEW since he's joined the company, and he went out there and beat him in 30 minutes in a 60-minute time limit. And
Yep.
while he was bleeding the whole time, he had to have been weak and woozy, and he went out there and got the job done as champ. We got to, give him props for going out there and being the homegrown guy, the conquering hero, everything that we knew that Hangman Page would be when he finally won the belt.
Absolutely. And for his first official title defense win, in really convincing epic fashion, I asked the question in the chat, but Bonds, who do you want to feud with Hangman next? Do you want him to have a match or two kind of one-offers, or do you want him to go right into another feud?
I'd love a little Mox action, if I'm being honest.
Wow, you want Mox return?
I want Mox to come back, and I think that that could be something they could do quickly. They're both baby faces, and people are going to want to cheer Mox, but I think that will be a big test for Hangman. If he can still be over when a guy like John Moxley comes back, then he's the guy. That's a big test for him, man. I think that would be a lot of fun, especially because Mox is coming out of a serious situation as well, and you get him in there, you get some good matches out of those two. Another name, man, it's tough because I feel like this Bryan Danielson match was so hyped up that it's hard to think of. He said, "Oh, maybe we'll see." That'd be pretty sweet, man. I don't know. He hasn't really done anything since losing that TNT Championship. Unfortunately, I'd be down though if he can have some of those promos. Maybe talk about redeeming Hangman Page after some of those WWE guys that he went through. You know what I mean? He could kind of lay into that because obviously, MJF and Punk don't have a problem talking about WWE. So
True.
I could see Miro definitely going there since he had such a terrible exit as well. That could be some fun stuff. So I think that
the thing with of course, I want to see Miro in the title picture and Mox in the title picture. The thing is, though, I want those guys in sub feuds to see them dominate. Hangman's run's going to be a while, and
it needs to be.
And a lot of times, like right now, Danielson is not hurt by this loss.
Right.
But I feel like consistently we see Miro take losses time and time again, but he's redeeming himself every time and still being relevant and fantastic. So this could be one of those cases that it happens.
Mox, I will say though, I don't want him to lose 2 title matches in a row if that's the case.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's the thing with Miro. You don't want him to go straight from losing the TNT belt to not being able to get the job done against Hangman, which who knows if he wouldn't get the job done, that might be a swerve. Maybe this year will be shorter title reigns. Every reign has been pretty long in AEW. Yeah. But I don't see it yet. I think that another feud first for Miro. But go ahead with your point on Mox.
I was going to say same thing for Mox. I want when he comes back, obviously he was already kind of leaning into that heel tendency, kind of no nonsense, just pissed off, just whooping butt, So Mox, obviously the crowd knows the story. Tony Khan hasn't been, shy about it. But I think the crowd's just going to pop for him so much, and that's going to happen. And so the pop, I don't think you want to put that against your champion.
Well, here's the thing, though. You don't have to have him come back against Hangman Page.
True.
You could maybe get that cheap comeback pop in a different moment. And, because Hangman could have a couple weeks off. This is just a brutal match. He might not wrestle for a little bit, I think that that's something that could happen where you have Mox come back and maybe set it up a little bit. Maybe you have him continue to act the way he was acting when he left. And you could have him kind of rebuild that character that he was trying to build. Right. And then you could have him come in and feud. I don't think you need to have it happen right away. But I will say that I think that they could have some awesome matches. And it would be a big test for Hangman Page to see if he can get that crowd reaction with a guy like Mox.
Yeah. That would be a big test for sure. I could see someone like we saw, in the chat, Andre El Idolo, Adam Cole down the line would be fantastic.
The Adams.
But there's one guy who has the last victory over our champ, Hangman Adam Page, and that is the Machine, Brian Cage. Who better? So He did beat Adam Page most recently. So, you know, that is one notch that he has above the champion right now. So
bring Brian Cage back.
Exactly. Will we see Brian Cage back to claim this championship? Will we see Brian Cage back to face Hangman Adam Page, because he already does have that one victory over him? And that match was fantastic. Those guys put on some outstanding matches, and that's right. Who better? And so I think it would be kind of, he's been off the screen for a little bit, and to kind of reemerge, like, but he was already kind of leaning into that baby face. Does he lean back into the heel tendency or what?
And here's the thing, man. Like, here we talk about like kayfabe in wrestling, right?
Yeah.
A lot. And what would be so cool, because people have talked about, oh man, Brian Cage hasn't gotten these opportunities, right?
Right.
He leans into that, comes back. I haven't gotten opportunities. I want to, you know, I'm a former Impact World Champion. I should be world champion here. You know, why am I not even on TV? I'm not even featured. You know, talks about that. And in some ways, like, he could be kind of a babyface, presenting himself as a heel, in certain instances where he's got points and he's not wrong, but he could be doing it in a way where he's just angry and bitter about it. And that might be a lot of fun. Especially because Hangman had that kind of that storyline where he was trying to kind of bring himself out of the gutter at points last year. So having that kind of thing, but opposite, would be a lot of fun. I think that would be great, and I think it would play into some of the stuff that's talked about on social about the Brian Cage situation and him not being featured on TV. That would be a really smart way to approach it, and that's like a really nice out of the box thought on that. I think Brian Cage would be a great pick.
Yeah, and it could be, I don't mean this in a bad way, like a transitional feud, and reintroducing reintroducing Cage back into the AEW television, which we haven't seen since that Philadelphia street fight months ago versus Starks. And so we can come back and do that as well.
Brian Cage is way too talented to not be on TV. I'll just say that. He's way too talented and unique to not be on TV.
Who better?
Exactly.
Exactly. No one. So that would put on an awesome match, man. He does some fantastic stuff in the ring.